How dare you! How dare you!
Welcome back, all you hardcore KBSers. I tell you, it's the usual suspects. Maybe we'll need to start calling that this. The usual suspects hit the safe space. Great to see you all coming in. We've got Roger Moore in there, 007 himself, ZX, my good friend Spooky Andy, One Polly, Queen, Adrian, Lewis. Who else we got in there? We got Mike. Oh, they're all coming in now. We got Jeans as well. Brian, good to see you. Lymphatic Drainage Massage in Melbourne. Great name. Great to see you here. We've got Nothing Is As It Seems. Oh, absolutely not. Tiffany. And today's number one in the chat was our good friend Jason. Yes, indeed. First World Problems. Check him out, folks. Go and sub to his channel. I'll be with you in just a moment as we kick back, we chillax, and we get ready for Bill Bean later on today. Oh, and lots of monster woo on the way. Okay. Things ain't that bad yet. Things ain't that bad yet, right? I don't know if you can see her, but my fame-hungry cat. She seems to know any time that I go live now. She comes and maneuvers herself either up there. Oh, you seen the tail going away there. But yeah, Susie the cat. And Anne laughs at the relationship I have with my cat. Anne is convinced that the cat is jealous of me and Anne. I don't think so, though. No, she's not. Could she be? Surely not. But no, it's great to be back, folks. It's great to see you all in here. And of course, this is the very relaxed, the very chilled out, the very laid back pre-show chill stream. And of course, when we do these pre-show chill streams, what I hope to do is entertain you along the way, give you information that's relevant to all the stuff that we look into. But not only that, prepare for the show that will start just when we finish this stream over on tfrlive.com. And you know me, I need my fix. I need my time with my people. And of course, recently we've had to stop doing the simulcast. That's okay, but we're still rolling. You can catch TFR Live YouTube channel. They've got the stream of the network going out there. But you know me, we have built up such a rapport here on YouTube over the years now, really. I think we've been really hardcore streaming for about a year. But I love streaming. I've loved getting to know all of you. And rest assured, there is KBS Extra on the way. And that's going to be extra interviews at different times right here on YouTube. And of course, we'll be having our phone-in shows here as well, sometimes on KBS Extra. It's all coming up. And this weekend, we're kicking it off with Nano Girl. She's going to be coming on Saturday night at 10 p.m. in the UK, 5 p.m. on the East Coast, and 2 p.m. on the West Coast. We're going to be getting into some fun topics. We're going to be talking all about tech and whatever else Nano brings along with her. So I hope you will join me for that one. And I hope you enjoy the pre-show streams. We'll try and get back to doing an earlier chill stream, maybe for UK listeners. It'll probably be at a better time for them. Might be too early for America. But rest assured, you know, just because of the changes on the channel and the way we've been doing the simulcast now not being there, don't think you're going to be getting any less of the Kev Baker show. If anything, you might end up getting a lot more. So thank you for all being here today. Jason's name is on the running board because he was first in here. Just to remind you all, for the duration of the stream, please go and sub to his channel. Want to get him up there over a couple of thousand, you know, let's get him flying, get him where he needs to be, get him in the algorithm. Unlike this channel anymore. Don't think we get notifications or anything now. No, just second-rate citizens on our favourite platform. Never mind, though. Never mind. Turn that frown upside down and we will keep on going. And today, before I switch gears and start to get into Exorcist Bill Bean mode, Tony Merkel the other night, he really made a big impression on me. And Tony came along from the Confessionals podcast. Now, in that, we mainly concentrated on the Bigfoot for the majority of the show. But since then, it's kind of got me thinking. Anytime I come across a cryptid story now, I probably pay it a little bit more attention than I was maybe a couple of weeks ago. And then today, when I went to my favourite website, Mysterious Universe, it really dictated the tone of what I was going to get into tonight. It's topics I know. It's topics that I really love and enjoy. It's topics that I know you like as well. And also, it's nothing too serious. We're passing the time together. Some quality KBS time on here, okay? Nice and cozy, nice and cool. No big stories to break today. No. Nothing controversial. Unless you find Nessie a bit controversial, that is, because that's where we're going to be starting today. And for many of you, you'll know my story. Born and bred on the banks of Loch Ness. Not in Loch Ness, like some people like to claim, but on the banks of Loch Ness in a small village called Fort Augustus. So for me, the Loch Ness Monster was always a part of my life. It was just the norm. And that kind of set the trend for me, really, when I was growing up. Because at the time, I didn't really notice it because it was all around me. But the Highlands, it is really supernaturally charged. There's paranormal activity of all kinds going on there. And of course, globally known for the Loch Ness Monster. So it's there that we're going to be starting today. And before you ask, no, I have never seen anything that even comes close to me thinking I'd seen the monster. My mum and my stepdad, they've seen something one time travelling on the A82 going to Inverness. Not your typical sighting, not the big neck coming out the water or anything like that. More like, now, not to say it is, but akin to what a whale would look like beneath the surface. You can see something giant, massive there, and there's a wake, but it's just not quite out the water. That's what they bore witness to near Uchart Castle one day. And listen, I don't need to have seen the thing to know that there's something going on in there. And I say something because it's quite hard to put your finger on just what it is. So let's head on over, shall we? Let's go to one of my favourite writers. And I need to get him back on the show. We've had him on one time before. Probably one of the more, or one of the most woo-filled 2 hours of radio. I think we were only meant to have Nick for an hour. But I'm pretty sure we managed to convince him to stay for 2. But yeah, Nick Redfern is who I'm talking about. And he's wrote a story here. The Loch Ness Monster, what governments know or don't. So it says, taking into consideration the fact that government agencies have investigated UFOs, psychic phenomena, and the world of the occult, and much more of a weird nature, it's natural to wonder if those same agencies have ever investigated Loch Ness. And no, I don't ever remember like SUVs or Men in Black appearing in Fort Augustus. It'd have been pretty cool. They would have stood out. People would have talked about that, trust me. Well, in a way, yes, there have been investigations. Now, I should stress that while there are a few official files on Nessie, we are not talking about highly classified papers or anything like that. Not that we know of, although I can't really think of a reason as to why there would be some top secret information on Nessie. Maybe they think he's a Russian. I don't know. Nevertheless, the material has never been made available or it has been made available via the Freedom of Information Act. It does provide some interesting insight. So let's take a look. Now, one of the most intriguing stories came from the late Jim Mars, and much love and respect to the late Jim Mars. Learned a lot from listening to that guy. Absolute legend. And from data collected by the US government's remote viewing programs. Now that's bizarre because I was watching remote viewing breakdowns, reports, analysis with a friend the other night. And some people poo-poo remote viewing. I think there's something really powerful to it. That's why you get governments that have put so much money into it in the past. It's like I've said before, you know, if there's any way that the military think they could get information, you know, first-hand, almost like detailed reports on the inside of enemy installations and, you know, weapons placements, things like that, without ever having to send a soldier out of the country, you better believe they're going to pursue that to see if they can use it at all. And they have. So it says it was while Mars was doing research for his book Psy Spies that the true story of America's psychic warfare program, that he learned of interest that the remote viewers had in the controversy surrounding the Loch Ness Monster. So in this issue, and in his book, Mars said, several sessions targeting the famous Loch Ness Monster revealed physical traces of the beast, awake in the water, movement of a large body underwater, and their drawings even resembled a prehistoric plesiosaur, often identified as matching descriptions of Nessie. But when the viewers tried to discover where the object came from or returned to, they hit a dead end. Now, the creature seemed to simply appear and disappear. And considering that reports of human ghosts date back throughout man's history, the spies seriously considered the possibility that the Loch Ness Monster is nothing less than a dinosaur's ghost. It should be noted, however, that plesiosaurs were not dinosaurs. Whoa, so they're actually saying that Nessie could be some kind of ghost? Dang, dude, I've never heard that theory before. But when you think about that there, right? Remote viewers who came up with this plesiosaur type creature, I find that interesting, and my skeptical side really does wonder how much of that is coming from their own minds as opposed to viewing something outside of themselves. And I say that because most of us, when we hear the Loch Ness Monster, our brains will either think of the neck coming out the water or the two humps. I would say the majority of people, we picture that plesiosaur, either consciously or subconsciously. And I wonder if that's what they've really been viewing. Interesting, nevertheless. It says now, let's see what the UK government has said about Nessie. We'll begin with the Joint Air Reconnaissance Intelligence Centre, JARIC, as it was known in the 1960s, when official interest in Nessie took off. Now, as the National Collection of Aerial Photography NCAP state, based at RAF Brampton, Cambridgeshire, from 1957 to 2013, JARIC was the UK's national strategic imagery intelligence provider. Now, in the immediate post-war years, one of its major tasks was the plotting and analysis of captured German Air Force reconnaissance photography. What had not been destroyed or captured by the Soviets was discovered in several locations by the Allies and shipped back to the UK. Now, the joint UK-US work on this imagery provided unique intelligence on the Soviet Union and Eastern Europe during the early Cold War years before the advent of satellite imagery. And David James was oh, hang on now. The subscribers come in. That's very good. Somebody new subscribe to the channel there. You like that? It comes up on the screen. Unfortunately, no memberships. Not that I'm better. So we go on. Along with conservationalist Sir Peter Scott and several others, James, in 1962, established the Loch Ness Phenomena Investigation Bureau. Bit of a mouthful, that, right? With the PIB. Doesn't quite have the same kind of ring as the FBI, but not only that, James had significant ties to the UK military. Now, he fought for his country in the Second World War, and James later moved into the world of politics. It was as a result of his connections with the military and the government that James came up with the bright idea, why not see if JARIC would be willing to examine and analyse photos and footage that purported to show Loch Ness monsters. What began as just an idea went ahead, and certainly the most famous connection between the Nessie and JARIC involved the 1962 sighting and filming of an alleged Loch Ness monster by Nessie seeker Tim Dinsdale. So we'll take a little look at this, folks. There you go. I must admit, it's very impressive, right? You see the big black mass in the middle. It's the wake that's coming off it. And as somebody, I know exactly what part of the loch that's filmed at. That must be a fair size. A pretty decent size. Now, people have said in the past it might be some kind of boat, but leaving a wake like that, I don't think so. And then you see it's almost submerged. Now there, you got to admit, it does look almost boat-like. But again, I don't know. So then we come down. It was an early morning on Saturday, April 23rd, 1960, and Dinsdale was several days into an expedition at the loch when something remarkable for Dinsdale, life-changing occurred. It was the final day of Dinsdale's trip, so it was a case of now or never. Just fortuitously, for the man himself, it turned out to be now. And Dinsdale succeeded in capturing, well, something with his cine camera. A small boat? A real Nessie? It very much depends on who you ask. As for JRIC's conclusions, they said that their analysis showed that at one point the object creature appears to submerge, and that, quote, one can presumably rule out the idea that it is any sort of submarine vessel for various reasons, which leaves the conclusion that it's probably an animate object. Moving on to the late 1970s, the then Prime Minister, Margaret Thatcher, got involved in the controversy of Nessie, in a way, at least. So what did the Iron Lady get up to? It says, as Tabitha Cope, the author of Loch Ness, stated on February 23rd, 2010, the Sunday Times Scotland reports that the UK government, under Margaret Thatcher, seriously considered an official hunt for the Loch Ness monster. Newly declassified files from the 1970s reveal that the government had considered importing bottle-nosed dolphins to search Loch Ness for evidence of Nessie. Now, the plan was being considered by the Department of the Environment, and the department apparently believed that there were no legal obstacles to such a hunt. However, they were concerned about the political implications and possible opposition from animal rights campaigners. Now, the reason for the proposed hunt, which appears to have been abandoned, included boosting tourism. So yes, government and military agencies have got involved in the Nessie controversy, but sadly, there are no hidden military bunkers where fantastic photos of and films of Nessie are firmly locked away. Nick Redfern, come on. Not that we know of. You got to leave it open-ended, right? It's Nessie. But yeah, Nessie, the ghost of Nessie. I've never heard that been put forward before. But I tell you what, when it comes to Nessie, it's one mystery that I don't think will ever go away for a number of reasons. And I can tell you quite honestly right now, not to kill any of the woo, and it doesn't, but there is a big aspect of it that, you know, villages up on the side of Loch Ness, if it wasn't for the tourist industry, these places would be gone. There would be no employment there, and tourism and the people that come into the area, not only because of the scenery, but when you're going up there, you know, if you're near Loch Ness, you're going to go and see if you can see the Loch Ness monster, right? And there's that aspect to it, but that loch itself, the monster for me is just one of the mysteries that lays beneath sometimes. Because as I've talked about often on this show, and not once but twice appearing as Dave Baker on Clyde Lewis's show, I've talked about the many different guises, the shapes that the monster takes. And I don't think it's a ghost. I don't think it's a plesiosaur. I don't think it's any one thing, to be honest with you, because I am firmly of the belief that this is something you find only in Scotland. We always talk about myths and stuff like that on the show, and how we don't really ridicule them here. We don't see them as funny stories to tell kids to go to bed and based in fiction. We find them quite factual, right? And in Scotland, the Kelpie, the shape-shifting water spirit, that's where I tag my, that's the toe tag that I put on Nessie's flipper, since, well, maybe it can have a toe, if it is a shapeshifter. So we'll get into the next story in a moment, and we're not leaving the depths. Oh, no. We're going even deeper. We're going looking for the Kraken. Oh, yes. Bring out the Kraken. Who's making an omelette? Somebody's making an omelette in the chat room. Oh, come on. I can smell it. Oh, making me hungry now. Making me hungry. Ah, yes, Brent Thomas in the chat room. Welcome to my new pre-show stream, Brent. Yes, indeedy. Well, glad to see you here, brother. And oh, these topics are right up your street. Donny Farmer. Donny, our brother from down under. The Bunyip, sir. The Bunyip is for me an even more interesting cryptid than Nessie. I've never seen anything look quite as bizarre as the Bunyip. We'll take a look when we come back, and then we'll get right into the Kraken. We'll get Kraken on the Kraken. That strange looking entity there, folks, that there's a bunyip. Yep, it sure is. There's another picture of it there. That there looks like it, you know, anatomically, not that I'm a zoologist or some kind of vet or anything, but you know, it looks like webbed paws, like cyber tooth kind of thing. It's like a big saber toothed kind of like webbed clawed predator. Let's face it, that thing is terrifying. Let's have another couple of looks at the bunyip. Australia. And here it says the bunyip is a large mythical creature from Australian Aboriginal mythology. So true stories then. And they're said to lurk in swamps, billabongs, creeks, riverbeds, and waterholes. And the bunyip was part of traditional Aboriginal beliefs and stories throughout Australia, while its name varied according to tribal nomenclature. Now, in his 2001 book, writer Robert Holden identified at least 9 regional variations of the creature known as the bunyip across Aboriginal Australia. So it's kind of like the Bigfoot then. You get the Bigfoot, you get the skunk ape in Australia, in Florida, you get the Yeti in the Himalayas, you get the Yowie down in Australia. So they come in different kind of categories. Pretty cool. It says the origin of the word bunyip has been traced to the Wemba Wemba or Wergaya language of the Aboriginal people of Victoria and southeastern Australia. And Europeans recorded various written accounts of bunyips in the early and mid 19th century as they began to settle across the country. And I don't know if it's too early to say this yet. I don't know if it's too early at all. But good what Donny in the chat room. He says they live in a billabong, a deep hole. Dang, they really do come from beneath, right? But You know Mammoth Hunter, who has come on the show with her husband Dan, and she's also been on a couple of times with author, researcher, really cool guy, Bruce Fenton. Well, Jess and I have been kind of talking about maybe getting a show together where we will be going deep into Aboriginal lore, mythology. And to do that, Jess is going to reach out to somebody else that comes into the chat, Luna, and perhaps even Donnie. I'm not sure what Jess has got in mind. But in the near future, we're going to be one of the first shows that I can think of that really gets digging into the original information, that comes from Australia. Potentially, everyone's ancestors. So then, let's get back to our other story I had about beasties and underwater creatures for today, right? Because in just under an hour, don't let me forget, I have got Bill Bean coming on to the show today, the real life exorcist. He doesn't battle the Kraken, but he definitely battles equally evil demonic hordes. But today, Bill is not coming on for 1 hour like he usually does, unfortunately. No, he's coming on for 2 hours, and we're going to be opening up the phones in hour number two. He's going to be talking about everything going on in the world right now. We'll be talking about the Vatican, about the Pope, and a whole lot more. So tfrlive.com for that, or on the TFR Live YouTube channel. So then, let's get cracking on the Kraken. It says the hugest monster in the sea. A creature that features heavily in Scandinavian folklore and mythology, the Kraken is a beast of the mysterious deep. It is a definitive sea creature, albeit not a sea serpent of the long-necked and humpbacked variety, like we looked at a moment ago. And in many respects, the Kraken sounds like a strange combination of a giant octopus and a gargantuan squid. Certainly, both animals have the ability to grow in significantly large proportions, with the colossal squid reaching overall lengths, including tentacles, of up to 46 feet. Now, the Kraken, however, is said to grow much, much bigger. And I'm talking much, much bigger. And to the point where, in centuries long gone, it supposedly dragged ships under the waves, drowning their crews in the process. So the story of Orvar Odder, the renowned Scandinavian hero of old, whose adventures were chronicled in the 1200s, contains a description of a beast called the Halfguffa, but which scholars of Scandinavian folklore and history believe with hindsight may well have been a kraken. It states, now I will tell you that there are two sea monsters. One is called the Halfguffa, sea mist, another Lindbakker, heatherback. It, the Landbakker, or the Lingbakker, is the largest whale in the world, but the Halfguffa is the largest monster in the sea. It is the nature of this creature to swallow men and ships, and even whales and everything else within its reach. It stays submerged for days, then rears its head and nostrils above the surface, and stays that way until, at least until the change of tide. Now, that sound we just sailed through was the space between its jaws, and its nostrils and lower jaw were those rocks that appeared in the sea. While the Lindbakker was the island we saw sinking down. However, Hogmund Tussock has sent these creatures to you by means of magic to cause the death of you. And it says, odd, and all your men. He thought more men would have gone the same way as those that had already drowned, i.e., to the Landbakker or the Lindbakker, which wasn't an island and sank. And he expected that the Halfguffa would have swallowed us all. Today I sailed through its mouth because I know that it had recently surfaced. Then there is a 16th century account, and it's called Conung's Scudja, that'll do, which translates into the English as King's Mirror, and that also describes what is believed to have been a kraken. Now, let me ask the chat room while I'm going through this. Let me ask you, one, you think the kraken was actually a monster? It did exist at one time, or two, it didn't? One for kraken, two not having it. I'm gonna write it down. One, there's a kraken. There we go. So I'm gonna crack on with the kraken. You get cracking on with the what do you call it? Ones and twos. So it says here. And this is another separate account, okay? There's a fish that is still unmentioned, which is scarcely advisable to speak about on account of its size, because it will seem to most people incredible. There are only a very few who can speak upon it clearly, because it is seldom near land, nor appears where it may be seen by fishermen, and I suppose there are not many of this sort of fish in the sea. Most often in our tongue we call it half guffaw. Nor can I conclusively speak about its length in ells, because the times he has shown before men, he's appeared more like land than like a fish. Neither have I heard that one had been caught or found dead, and it seems to me as though there must be no more than two in the oceans, and I deem that each is unable to reproduce itself, for I believe that there are always the same ones. Then too, neither would I do for other fish if the half guffaw were of such a number as other whales, on account of their vastness and how much subsistence that they need. So it's said to be the nature of these fish that when one shall desire to eat, then it stretches up its neck with a great belching, and following its belching comes forth much food. Whoa, no need. What a minging monster. It like barfs everywhere before it eats you. No need. So that all kinds of fish that are near to hand will come to the present location. Then will gather together, both small and large, believing they shall obtain their food and good eating. But this great fish lets its mouth stand open the while, and the gap is no less wide than that of a great sound or a fjord. And nor may the fish avoid running together there in their great numbers, but as soon as its stomach and mouth is full, then it locks together its jaws, and the fish, all caught and enclosed, that before greedily came there looking for food. Let's see what the chat room were saying then. Let's see. Kraken. Oh, Kraken's looking like a monumental number one. It is. I think so. I think we're having it. I think people are buying the Kraken. I must admit, I'm a Kraken believer myself, okay? Not saying it. In addition, we have the words of a Swedish author, one Jacob Wallenberg, indeed. In the pages of his 1781 title, Minsong Pa Galayan, which translate as My Son on the Galley, we're told the following. Kraken, also called the crabfish, which is not that huge, for heads and tails counted, he is no longer than our Åland is wide, less than 16 kilometres. So he's no longer than 16 kilometres. No big thing then. Just a tiddler. He stays at the sea floor, constantly surrounded by innumerable small fishes who serve as his food and are fed to him in return. For his meal, if I remember correctly, what Pontoppidan writes? Something like that. We'll just call him E, right? Big Uncle E. If I remember correctly what Uncle E writes, lasts no longer than 3 months, and another 3 are then needed to digest it. his excrements. Whoa, 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 whoa. Nurture in the following. We don't need to know that. So it says gradually, Kraken ascends to the surface, and when he is at 10 to 12 fathoms, the boats had better move out of his vicinity, as he will shortly thereafter burst up like a floating island, spurting water from his dreadful nostrils and making ring waves around him, which can reach miles. Could one doubt that this is the Leviathan of Job? Today, sightings and reports of the Kraken are not just rare. Hang on, are not just rare. They are, for all intents and purposes, non-existent. This suggests two possibilities: that the Kraken was purely a mythical beast, or it became extinct in the centuries past. And whatever the truth of the matter, while the Kraken seemingly no longer endures, its legend assuredly does. So I think most people in the chat room, from what I've seen, are pretty on board with the Kraken, apart from the Wookiee. The Wookiee is a bit different. The Wookiee is both on board and not on board. He's the quantum Kraken. I like it, Wookiee. I like it. I really do. Hey, Max, it's great to see you in there, brother. Absolutely fantastic to see you, man. Who else we got hiding about in here? We have got King. Good to see you, Benjamin, Tessa. Yes, indeedy. And I don't think, whatever's happened to it, I do think the Kraken was something at one time. I maybe would need convincing it was 16 kilometers long. But that's okay. That's okay, because I do think that, with, like it says there, not many reports in recent times, and shipping and submarines and underwater sonar and cameras, you'd think we would have seen something like that by now. But wait, because we probably know more about the surface of Mars than we do about what's in our own oceans. And that always pisses me off. It really does. I was going to blank myself out there, but I really don't have to worry about the algorithm now, do I? Ah, but it really pisses me off, because maybe we should be looking and exploring and getting a handle on our own planet first before we're going, mapping craters up on the surface of Mars. But I've got one more story. Well, no, two more stories to bring you. I'm going to get a quick drink, quick refreshment, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, and we'll be back in a little second, folks. And we're going to be talking about whales and the song of the whale and how AI is helping with the songs of the whales. That was a pretty bad whale, right? Russell Johnson, a big shout out to you, sir. Great to see you here. Rick, great to see you. As an old, hang on, I want to see what he said there. As an old bootneck, Kraken rum got its name from sea lore. Yep, it's legendary. Yep. Yes, indeedy, we're back. Yes, a chill stream, Captain Pecora. It's a stream where we chill. I know it's not really, it's nothing great, I know, but it's what we do here. It's how us KBSers roll. Somebody asking me to talk about some new Chinese documentary in the chat room. I've no idea what Chinese documentary you're on about, so I've definitely not seen it. And something I've not seen, I certainly can't comment on. But one thing I have been talking about a couple of times recently was how all of the decrease in human activity and all of the shh, it's getting all quiet out there because life's coming to a standstill, right? It's having various effects on different things. And I've mentioned the whales here before, right? I was watching something with my friend Nancy the other night, and they were talking about this and how the whales, how they're listening to them because there's decreased shipping out there, the sonar and everything else. It's all-time low, and they're hearing the songs of the whales like they've never heard them before. And then I came across an article today, totally randomly, about whales, not quite about how they're reacting, not quite. But I thought this was really interesting anyway, because what they're doing is, with underwater microphones, like I say, that they're trying to pick up the noises of whales, but you have to imagine an underwater microphone is going to pick up the noise of everything, right? So what they're actually doing is, and this is super cool, but they're using AI to help researchers pinpoint and isolate the noises of whales coming from the ocean. And it says here, AI is helping scientists understand the ocean's worth of data. So it says if you had about 180,000 hours of underwater recordings from the Pacific Ocean, and you needed to know when and where, in all those different hours, humpback whales were singing, would you Google it? Well, that is what Anne Allen, a research ecologist at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, did, sort of. In January 2018, she approached Google and asked if they might be able to help her find the signal of humpback whale songs amid all the ocean or amid all the other ocean noise, like dolphin calls or ship engines. Now, using 10 hours of annotated data in which the whale songs and other noises were identified, Google engineers then trained a neural network to detect the songs based on a model for recognizing sounds in YouTube videos, said Julia Catiow, a product manager at Google. Now, that's really interesting because they based it on a model for recognizing sounds in YouTube videos. You know what they're talking about there, don't you? When we've said sometimes I play the algorithmic Olympics and I'll change words, and that's the model they use. That's the type of neural network, the one that listens and doesn't listen to us. It looks at the audio file. It looks at that audio wave that you produce, and it's trained to match audio patterns to what words, what they look like. And this is how they've done the whales. I think it's pretty interesting. Pardon me. So it says about 9 months later, Dr. Allen had a model for identifying humpback whale songs, which she is using in her research on the occurrence of the species in islands in the Pacific and how it may have changed over the last decade. Now, Google used similar algorithms to help Canada's Department of Fisheries and Oceans monitor in real time the population of the endangered southern resident orca, which is down to around 70 animals. So we're going to take a little listen here to some of the sounds that they've of the humpback whales. This is just, don't need me to say anything. So yeah, that's helping to isolate these noises. Now they've already, like Max is saying in the chat, I think it was Max was saying how They already, they've decoded some of these noises. This isn't so much to kind of translate what they're saying. It's just so that they can basically get rid of all the other noise in amongst it, and really kind of just isolate that so they can then listen to it. And by the sounds of it, this research this scientist is doing, it's to see the numbers, see if they've gone down in the past decade out around these islands in the Pacific. I thought it was pretty cool. And when it comes to the whales and it comes to, sea life, ocean life in general, it really is like an alien world. There's no other way to look at it. And The Abyss, good movie, right? But for me, yeah, that's as alien a world as the moon. It might as well be. And then you go right down to the depths where probably we would be struggling to get to. And you see how life actually starts to kind of form in and around these vents on the ocean floor. And you see the shapes and the forms that life take. And you see the ways that they adapt. And some of them hang lights as bait for other fish. Like I say, a totally alien world on our own planet. And how much of it do we really, really understand? And even, aside from the life in there, what stuff could we find if you were to be able to drain the world's oceans? I know we can't, right? But if you were to drain them all and then look at the seabed, the ocean floor, how many kind of remnants of past cycles do you think we would see? I think we'd be startled. I really, really do. But we've got one more story to get into that's going to really change the mood. It's going to shift gears and get us ready for Bill Bean, who's going to be coming on the main show on radio. Yes, back to being a radio star. We are still going out on YouTube on the TFR channel. But, yeah, so we're going to be talking about something kind of paranormal, exorcism-y, deliverance-y related when we come back after I've had a quick Papa. And for anyone who doesn't know what that means, I'm sure the chat can fill you in. Thank you all for being here, by the way. You honestly absolutely rock. You really, really do. And, I've not moved over to streaming on the backup channel. We're still monetized over there. I have too much fun hanging out in the atmosphere we've built up here. I really have. But we'll start doing the odd thing on the backup channel now and again. And hopefully, if we do enough on the backup channel, maybe we'll get memberships there as well. I heard a rumor, maybe we will. Who knows? You see, lots more to come on KBS. And get ready, turn the lights down. We're about to get into the deep woo.
How dare you! How dare you!
Oh, time for you to go to bed, Greta. The deep woo's coming out. No, Billy Joe. I love you too. You see, much love going around today. I think Anne's gonna spank your bum, but I don't know, it could be enjoyable. Yes, Logos, yes, you are still a member. All memberships are frozen for 90 days. They won't be billing you. Don't worry about that. I've checked. They aren't billing people. And hopefully, fingers crossed, if we can get back onto the good step in 90 days, then everything just picks up where we left off. But we're going to build up the backup channel as well. They strike us down once, we come back twice as strong. Yes, indeedy. So, myself and Bill Bean, we're like a dynamic duo. And I always remember first coming across Bill. I had no idea who Bill was. And good friend Laura Maxwell. Not spoken to Laura in so long. Hope she's doing well. And she introduced us. She said, Kev, I know the perfect guest for your show. He's like a real life exorcist. And at that moment, she had me. I'm like, a real life exorcist? No way I was turning that down, right? So Bill comes along, and Bill, for me, was like a breath of fresh air because he's not one of these pastors, deliverance ministers, exorcists that preaches to people. He's very open-minded. He talks about the UFOs. He talks about the Bigfoot. He gets into all the stuff that we get into on here, and he's blowing my mind time and time again. Not only that, but behind the scenes, away from all the radio and the YouTube, Bill has helped me. He's helped my brother. He's helped my family, and he's helped so many of you out there as well. And in recent times, however it came about, a bit synchronistic, but we can go into that another time. But we've ended up doing this weekly show now every Sunday. It's midnight in the UK, and that's 7 p.m. on the East Coast, and that is 4 p.m. on the West Coast. Now, the thing is, that doesn't mean Bill isn't going to be coming on for his monthly visit to the KBS radio show, and today is that day. And I'm really looking forward to hanging out with Bill tonight because A, this is going to be the first time we've had him on for 2 hours. B, it's the first time I can remember that we've opened up the phones for people to speak to Bill as well. And C, I don't really think it matters what belief system anybody has. I think people are either good or they're bad. And I think the times we're living in right now, you know, we either come together or we fall apart. And I think it's a time for putting petty differences and sometimes big differences between us. I think it's a time for putting them aside. I really do. And it's only by coming together that we will get through the other side of this. And we do get through. I've already looked. We win. Just a spoiler alert. But that's why I like bringing Bill in as well, because I know there's a lot of people out there who are of the Christian belief system, as I am. I don't like to talk about it much because I think it's a personal thing. I think religion causes far too much division where it's not necessary. And what really irks me about that is you find that when you have a conversation with people of other belief systems, guess what? You don't actually have that much less in common when you actually sit down, talk about things, and listen. So tonight, bringing Bill on, going to be great. And it's that whole exorcist thing, right? That whole kind of, that's the kind of the spicy part when Bill first came into my kind of sights when he was coming on the show. And I've always had a kind of fascination with that kind of thing. You know, I often tell people to check out Jason in the chat room, who is First World Problems. And the reason I shout him out all the time is because some of my favourite content to watch is paranormal investigations. And you see umpteen mediums coming and going into these shows. And I don't know about you guys out there, but sometimes, me anyway, the BS detector, the needle nearly breaks. And that's just when the guy's introducing himself, you know. You think to yourself, you're no more a medium than I am, dude. And you can tell, you know, the way some of them, the crap ones do. You know, I think I can, might be a Joan, no Joan, might be an Anne. Oh, I've got an Auntie Anne. Oh, that's who it is, it's Anne. And, you know, Bill Bean, he's not a medium. He's somebody, though, that goes toe-to-toe with these things that people look for in paranormal investigations. And I made a point always of saying to Bill, time after time, show after show, is it getting busier out there? Like, is it getting darker? Are the demonic hordes that we keep talking about, that are meant to be here in the end of days, are they getting closer to the veil? Are they coming through it more? An exorcist, somebody like Bill, he's on the front line of that, right? And what really used to kind of always, even though I would ask, and half a part of me would know what he was going to say, used to shock me that time after time it would be getting worse. And if you followed me and Bill long enough, you would know that it went from just your typical kind of deliverance prayers and blessing of houses and things like that to full on apparitions and almost manifesting ectoplasm and physical stuff going on. That's the world we're living in right now. And since the dawn of time, there's always been that spiritual element to things. The spiritual world has probably been here longer than the physical world. And you can't separate the two, you really can't. And much like that thing that we're dealing with going around the world right now, the paranormal, the supernatural, these entities that are over there, tormenting people here in our physical world, they don't discriminate. They really, really don't. Color, age, financial status, it doesn't matter. You know, if you become a target for whatever reason, you become a target. And it's not just Bill that does this, you know, goes out there, helps families, and does what you would call exorcisms. Now, remember, exorcism is something that comes from the Catholic Church, so it's not exactly what Bill does. He does deliverances, it's a different thing. Same outcome. Calling on the same powerful angels to come and sort something that we can't sort ourselves from this physical plane. And there's been a few famous ones over the years as well. And Joe always talks about one called Father Gabriele Amorti. Talk about synchronicity. Today in the paper, big article about Father Gabriele Amorti. So it says the priest who had the number of the beast. And as the Vatican's chief exorcist for 30 years, Father Gabriele Amorti, or Amort, claimed to have dealt with the devil 60,000 times. Now, I think it would have been cool if he had said 66,666 times. I think that would have been epic. Probably unbelievable, but epic. Now, a new book tells of his head-spinning story. Yeah, it's not that they're really kicking the ass out of that pun there, but it says here, as the Vatican's chief exorcist, Father Gabriele Amorti has often asked people, or was often asked to help people, whose troubles turned out to be far more mundane than demonic possession. However, he was convinced he faced evil incarnate one morning in 1997 when a young Italian man was brought to his small consulting room in Rome. Now, the peasant was accompanied by his priest and another man, and the latter was a translator. For while the afflicted man spoke only Italian, the evil spirit inside him spoke perfect English, he was told. And there he is there, there's the Father Amorti there. His Father Amorti started the exorcism in Latin, and the moment he mentioned Jesus' name, the young man fixed his gaze on him and began to yell curses and threats in English, then spitting and making out as if about to attack him. Now, when the exorcist arrived at the prayer, Praecipio Tibi, I command you, the demon briefly went quiet. But then, screaming and howling, the demon burst forth and looked straight at him, drooling saliva from the young man's mouth, writes Marcello Stanzione, a fellow Catholic priest who worked with Father Amorti. And Father Amorti continued the rite of liberation, demanding the demonic presence reveal its name. He was shocked when he was told it was Lucifer himself. Momentarily shaken to be confronting the devil, he nevertheless ploughed on. And the possessed man resumed his shrieking, twisting his head back and rolling his eyes. His back arched for a quarter of an hour. The room became extremely cold, and ice crystals formed on the windows and walls. Moments after the exorcist ordered Lucifer to abandon the peasant, the young man's body stiffened and began to levitate, hovering 3 feet in the air for several minutes before collapsing into a chair. Finally, Satan admitted defeat, announcing the exact day and hour when he would leave the man's body. It sounds like the stuff of horror fiction. But Father Stanzioni insists it all happened. He has just written a book, The Devil is Afraid of Me, containing astonishing new details, including the horrific demonic encounter in 1997 about the extraordinary life of Father Amorti. Now, a man who was dubbed the Dean of Exorcists, but whom in the flesh looked more like a friendly tortoise than a grim vanquisher of evil, Father Amorti said he conducted a staggering 60,000 exorcisms over a 30-year period. Wow. That is some going, right? Some going. That's what, 500 exorcisms a year? That's more than one a day. Now, the Pope's chief exorcist died at 91 in 2016, prompting national mourning in Italy, where an estimated 500,000 people visit an exorcist every year. Wow. One country, 500,000 people. Now, even if only 1/5 of them are suffering from some kind of demonic attack, that's 100,000 people. Even if just one of them is suffering a demonic attack, it's real. Dang, I didn't think it was that bad. Now, although as an official exorcist of the Diocese of Rome, he was the Catholic Church's most famous and controversial exorcist, and he was far from its only one. And there are at least 400 in the world, and even in the traditional skeptical UK, the Church says it is carrying out an increasing number of exorcisms. So yes, folks, that's why it's probably pretty cool that KBS has got their own real-life deliverance minister on call. I'm going to be back in 19 minutes on tfrlive.com. If one of the mods could drop the link again for the TFR Live YouTube channel, that'd be much appreciated. But I really want to thank all of you for being here today. Really means the world. It truly, truly does. The show goes on, as you can see. Big changes, but we're adapting. We're improvising. We've got a new show called the Pre-Show Chillstream, and lots more on the way. We've got Nano Girl at the weekend. And if you remember towards the end of last week, we got a caller called Jared, the medium from Wales. Do you remember that? Yeah, I've been back in touch with Jared. What a story that guy has to tell. And we're going to be getting some ghost hunters from Wales onto the show. Hopefully next week. Hopefully. Watch this space. I'll be back in 18 minutes now on the TFR YouTube channel and on iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, TalkStream Live, and of course, the home of the Kev Baker Show. And that is tfrlive.com. Before I go, let me remember, I'm just going to get you a quick Brucey bonus. Hang on. Let me see. Anyone who wants to join the Discord, here's a link coming, okay? I'll remove it in a little minute. Here we go. And before I go, I just want to say a big thank you to Connie as well. Thank you, Connie. And thank you to all the members that have taken it upon themselves to kind of carry on the membership via PayPal. Again, kind of lost for words. Very, very humbling. And I intend to repay you all tenfold with more and more content, better and better info. And yeah, never a dull moment in the apocalypse. And I'll be back with Bill Bean real soon. I hope to see you all over in the TFR chat room at tfrlive.com/chat. And if you can't be there, I'm going to try and get the chat room over on the live stream at YouTube, opened up today. And I will see you all very, very soon. You know what comes now, right? Keep your mind open. Keep looking for the woo, but not to the point where your brain turns to black goo. Because when that happens, it smells like